Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is a video that goes to a series that looks at the Bloomburrow set that we have. Bloomburrow is our newest set that we just got released to us yesterday. And this video, like I said, is part of a series where we take a look at the top 10 cards of each rarity. So please, I gotta say, of course, take a look at the masterpiece video that I did. This one is going to cover the mythics. We're going to be putting out a video for the rares, and then we're going to be putting out a video to cover the commons and uncommons as well. So take a look at all of them and kind of let me know, give me your feedback, what you think about the video and about the cards I've selected for the top 10. Okay, so let's get into it. Here are the top 10 mythics that I have for this set here. Okay, coming out in any order, here's the first one, Rotten Mouth Viper. It's an elemental snake. At the beginning of your turn, if this card is in your hand, reduce this card's cost by X until the end of your turn. X is equal to the amount of black gems on the board up to 8. When this creature enters the battlefield or attacks, increase this card's level by 4, then deal Y damage to your opponent's planeswalker. Y is this card's level. So obviously what you're going to want to do with this one is get him out early. Get him out early and just protect him. And if you can do that, you're going to be able to win games just on the ability that it has here. Like I said, you'll be able to raise this one's level by 4 every time it enters the battlefield or it attacks. And that's going to help you to do tons of damage here. It's going to be a damage that just incrementally gets better and better. So yeah, like I said, keep this one on the battlefield as much as you can, get it out early, and that's going to be something that wins games for you. There's the next one, Helga, Skiddish, Seer. This one is a frog druid. When you cast a creature or support card with mana cost 9 or greater, you gain X life. Then this creature gets plus X. At the beginning of your turn, draw a card, then gain X mana. X is equal to this creature's power. Now you see why this one is going to be so strong, right? You have that XX. Usually whenever you have XX, that's going to give you a big, powerful buff. And this one, the X is going to be the ability, right? You see here, the power of that creature, right? So you're going to get a lot of power on this one if you build the deck correctly. That's going to help you to make this thing just even bigger and bigger than the 1/3 it already is. And what I would try to do, obviously, is stack as many of these buffs as possible. And yeah, you can see what it does. It's an excellent card. Now, before we move on, I have to let you guys know that this one here, all of this, is kind of being reworked right now. So it's going to come out again in the future. It may not have this. It's going to have something a little bit different, I'm sure. But for now, this one is definitely one of the top cards that are in this mythic bunch here. But we'll see what happens. This, I said, is going to get changed in the future, and well, at that time we'll figure out if we still like this one or not. But for now, this is what it is. Cool card. Bloomburrow, Bellow of the Woods is the next one. Elemental Bear. When this creature enters the battlefield, destroy the top 4 cards of your library, then return the last land card from your graveyard to your hand. That card gains half of its mana rounded down. At the beginning of the combat on your turn, this creature gets plus X. X is equal to the number of non-green gems you match this turn. When an opposing creature with flying attacks, deal Y damage to that creature. Y is this creature's power. Okay, so you can see there's a little bit of a theme here to the cards that I like. I like cards that will give you both offense and defense in the same card, and this is one that does that, right? You can see here there's an ability with the land, right? Getting the lands together is kind of a strength of this card. I would definitely use it in decks that have a lot of that land kind of ability, where you're maybe starting to gain a benefit besides the convert just from the lands. That's kind of what I would use this one here for. It also says here at the beginning of the combat on your turn, this creature gets plus X, and that's the non-green gems, of course, that you match. This one is going to be a nice buff as well. Hopefully you're going to be able to use this to just get him to be really big. So that's great. You got Vigilance here for the defense, and you got another nice ability to deal some damage to opposing creatures. And that's just a really good thing. You want to have the offense and the defense together in one card, and that's what you got here. Alright, so here's the next one. Biza the Bounding Spring. This is an elemental elk. When this card enters the battlefield, create a treasure token. At the beginning of your turn, if your opponent has more life than you, gain 10 life. If your opponent has more cards in hand than you, draw a card. Then gain 10 mana. If your opponent controls more creatures than you, creatures you control get +4/+4. So I do like this one because you have that buff on the bottom. All of these are good, right? I mean, don't get me wrong. All of these are good. I like the 10 mana gain here. The 10 life is good. But the big one here, I think, on this card is the creatures you control get +4/+4. Obviously, you're going to have to work a deck and work some gameplay a little bit so that it can make sure that it meets this condition here, because your opponent has to have more creatures than you. But in this case that they do, maybe you're just running a 1 creature deck or a 2 creature deck. In a case like that, all of your creatures will get the buff. So that's really good. That's a nice buff. Alright, let's take a look at the next one. Glarb Calamity's Augur. It says here, at the beginning of your turn, pick one of the first 2 cards in your library. If that card is a land, the first card in your hand gains full mana. Otherwise, that card gains 9 mana. So what I would try to do is play this one obviously in a deck that's got a ton of land. And then obviously at the beginning of your turn, you're gonna want to have a nice card, maybe an expensive card as the first card in your hand. And then if you draw a card and it's a land, you'll get that first card free. Like I said, if it's an expensive one, that's going to be good. You don't really have to worry about paying for it. But yeah, that's a nice way to use this one. I think this one you can kind of work its way into some decks that are going to be able to make a great benefit from that little bit of ability here. So really interesting. Okay, here's the next one. The infamous Cruel Claw. And you can see the alternative art here. Kind of cool. I do like this alternative art. Here's what it says. It's a Weasel Mercenary. When this creature deals combat damage, destroy the top 3 cards of each player's library. Then return a random card from your graveyard to your hand and it gains full mana. So again, you have the full mana ability here to get yourself cards for free. That's really going to be something that helps a lot of decks out, a lot of players out. And what I would suggest is kind of build around that, right? So you're going to want to do the damage as you see here. That's going to help you to get cards from your library and into the graveyard. And that's going to be really what's going to help you with this whole ability to get you these things that are free. So I would suggest doing that. Okay, good stuff here. Obviously, you'd want to get maybe a double strike going for this, but yeah, you can figure it out. It's really good even without the double strike. Okay, next one. Dragonhawk Fate's Tempest. So this is an interesting one. I do like the dragons here, as you can see. I like dragons as, you know, with the Sarkhan 1, obviously. So this one you can definitely use in a Sarkhan 1 deck. That just has that great ability with the dragons. It says when this creature enters the battlefield or attacks, exile the top 3 cards from your library. Then deal X damage to your opponent's planeswalker and destroy 10 random gems. X is the number of cards in your exile. At the beginning of your turn, return a random card from your exile to your hand. That card will gain full mana. So you get to see the full mana thing here again, so that's usually really cool. I do like cards with the full mana. The part that I like here is the deal X damage to your opponent's planeswalker and destroy those random gems, right? Those 10 random gems, that's going to be super important. A lot of times 10 is good enough where you're going to be able to get some cascades just flowing from that, and that's going to help you. So cool here. It's the next one, Season of the Bold. It's a spree spell here. You can see it for yourself. Spree 1, exile the first 5 cards from your library, then draw a card. Spree 2, deal X damage to the first opposing creature and your opponent's planeswalker. X is the number of cards in your exile. And Spree 3, create 4 gold tokens. For those of us that are not familiar with Spree, I'll click it over here. But basically what happens is the game will start counting how many matches you make in the same turn that you play this card, right? So actually before you play this card, and that's going to be your Spree number. And if you got a 1, you get to have this Spree ability. If you have 2, you get to have this one plus this one. And then the 3 obviously will give you this one plus this one plus this one here. This is a really interesting card, and I do think that there is some great value here The 10, not a whole lot for what you get, especially if you're going to be running Spree. What I would say is have a deck that's got a lot of convert in your, in your deck. Stuff like the Leyline of the Guild pack, I believe it's called, Cryptex also. You're going to get a lot of those matches even before you make your swap, and that's going to help you to load up your sprees. Okay, here's the next one, Storm Splitter. Storm Splitter is a cool one. For 9, you get an Otter Wizard. When you cast a spell card, if it's not a copy, create a copy of that card in your hand. Otherwise, reinforce this creature. So obviously, you're going to want to use this with a Spell Slinger deck. Lots and lots of spells that are coming out. That's going to help you to maximize this ability here. Obviously, when you play a spell card, you're going to get a copy of that card in your hand. Otherwise, you're going to get this card to be reinforced, so that's going to help it to just get bigger and bigger. So interesting card here. I do think this one's going to get a lot of play. Okay, here's the last one for the Mythics here. Eluge, the Shoreless Sea. Elemental Fish, it says, when this creature enters the battlefield or attacks, convert 2 gems to blue. At the beginning of your turn, this creature gets +X until the beginning of your next turn. Then the first card in your hand gains X mana. X is the number of blue gems on the board. So there are a couple of things here that I like. This part over here, obviously, the first card in your hand gets X mana. X is the number of blue gems on the board. I think that's going to be good. You would obviously like to use this with a deck that converts a ton of cards or a ton of gems to blue, and that's going to help you. And this card, of course, will help that kind of a theme too as well, right? We're going to get the converts to blue. And then you're going to, of course, get this pretty nice buff, I would say. You're going to have to build your deck to get the blue going, but you would get a pretty nice buff. Anyway, that's it for me. Like and subscribe, share with all your friends. Hope you guys liked the video. And yeah, that's it. Good gaming, guys.